Okay, welcome everyone. We shall begin our presentation on the Connect IT project. Connect IT is a partnership project with PAVS, Pembrokeshire Association of Voluntary Services, Hywel Dda Health Board, Pembrokeshire Local Authority, Digital Communities Wales, and the West Wales Partnership. PAVS is Pembrokeshire Association of Voluntary Services. It is one of the recognised independent membership organisations that forms a network around Wales. PAVS was established to support and develop voluntary action in Pembrokeshire. PAVS also provides an interface or working relationship between voluntary and statutory organisations. I'm Gwyneth, and I work on the Connected Communities programme at PAVS.
I'm Jonathan Evans, and I'm a freelance digital support business owner based in Pembrokeshire, so extremely local to PAVS.
Next. Okay, I'm going to set the scene. Just to give you a bit of background to our digital story, we are a team of 7 community connectors, an agile team working across Pembrokeshire, connecting people to services and activities with a focus on prevention, signposting people to get support from a range of organisations, including third sector. You hear the term prescribe, but we tend to prefer enable, as we want to empower people to make their own decisions with information that we can provide. At the start of COVID, a community hub was set up in Pembrokeshire in partnership with the Health Board, Local Authority, Third Sector, PAVS, to support individuals with tasks such as shopping, picking up prescriptions. The community connectors were the solution finders to more complex inquiries where additional support was needed to support daily lifestyle needs. Referrals were taken from a range of health professionals, social workers, families, neighbours with the individual's consent. Each referral is offered a guided conversation, a what matters conversation, as an opportunity to find out what an average day looked like for the individual. What were their hobbies, interests? Could they drive? How did they get their shopping, their supplies? Did they have broadband and access to a computer? Before COVID, this would be a picture of one of our engagement events working with partner organisations. This, for instance, this example is a scams awareness session involving a community group and children from a nearby school. We would give out leaflets, share information, put up posters, and connect people with information in their communities. Then COVID hit us. We had the announcement in March to work from home. No travel, no face-to-face visits. What were we going to do? How were we going to connect with people? We knew we had to upskill ourselves. We knew we had to work differently. We were a preventions programme. We had to react to the situation. Everything went online. Services and activities went online. Everyone thought differently. Our partner organisations worked very quickly to adapt and started to post activities online. But for some, communication and connecting in this way was impossible. People did not have broadband, did not have equipment, or didn't have the know-how how to connect online. We knew we had to upskill our team. We had to adapt the community connector service to include a digital offer, support and signpost people to services and activities. We had to know what was going on out there and what platforms were being used. How many of us had heard of Zoom meetings back in March? Connect IT was our vision. Connectors use their skills to help others, but we quickly identified there was a need for a digital loan service, for equipment and for data. Having excellent partnerships with health offered us an opportunity to apply for funding via our GP clusters in Pembrokeshire, and we successfully received funding from both clusters in the north and south, allowing us to offer a loan service for anyone registered with a GP surgery in Pembrokeshire. We now had to promote the service, but how did we do that to those not online? So again, we built relationships with our partners, and we got in touch with the local hospital, included information in hospital discharge packs. We contacted our pharmacies to ensure that posters could be put up in every pharmacy in Pembrokeshire. Our Welsh Ambulance Service and our fire service were involved in sharing the information.
So this led us to, we identified that as Gwyneth mentioned, there was a shortage in the community with regards to people having access to devices. And ultimately, if anyone hasn't got a device, then it's highly unlikely that they were going to have broadband, and they certainly wouldn't be familiar with going online and having to carry out day-to-day activities online. So the Connect IT tablet loan scheme was born last summer. So I came on board to work with the community connectors in order to put a package together in with a view of distributing the devices and the equipment that we felt people would need to remain connected in Pembrokeshire. So as Gwyneth mentioned, this was pushed out with various agencies in order to spread the word. Because ultimately where we all go online now and we discover new things on social media, we were trying to access people who wouldn't necessarily have smart devices, and you know, things online would not actually reach them. So once the message got to them, they were referred to our community connectors, and then they were in the system for us to try and provide them with devices that would allow them to connect ultimately with loved ones. So with regards to the tech side, because a lot of people query, you know, how have we gone about it from a hardware point of view? So we sourced two types of tablets initially. There was the Lenovo E10 back in the autumn, and we're currently on the Lenovo M10. These have all got LTE 4G SIM card slots, so there's a slightly higher spec model in order to get that SIM card, because obviously we take for granted the fact that we've got broadband in our homes. You know, we were accessing and working with people who they wouldn't have that, so data was key to making this all work, and we decided that the easiest thing to do would be to give them a device that actually took a SIM card. We put the SIM cards in, and they wouldn't need to necessarily worry about the connection. We did have a few MiFi devices which work in a fairly similar way, where the SIM card goes in the MiFi, and sorry, I should mute some of that.
That means, I suppose it's pretty stupid not going.
Is that Maria? Could you possibly mute?
I did it, John.
Thank you. So apologies there, everyone. So we use the MiFi Wi-Fi routers where you put a SIM card in, and it works like a Wi-Fi hotspot. But again, we felt that was one more thing that would require charging and potentially cause problems. So like I said, we finalized on the Lenovo E10, and then the newer model now, which is the M10. So every referral would get the tablet. We also provided a case. We went with a fold-over case, which turns into a stand. We've also got a few shockproof options with various people requiring that for either self peace of mind or in order to protect the device because it was likely to be dropped for various reasons. SIM cards, we stuck with 3. Okay, so the 3 network, they provide a 25 gigabyte data SIM, which doesn't have an expiry date. They vary in price depending on when you purchase them, but they were around the £30–40 mark. And the important thing there for us was they were pre-activated. So it was literally a case of take the SIM card out, pop them in the device, and they work straight out of the box, because we weren't in a position to register in excess of what we are now using 100+ SIM cards. So it is literally pay as you go. When they run out, they stop working, which suited the project immensely. So that's the hardware. If you've got any queries regarding that, please pop it in the chat. But it is a tablet, a case, and a SIM card already set up. So software-wise, these are Android tablets. So we provide the user with a Google Workspace account. That allows us to give them an email address, which, as you will go through later on, is something that we wanted to introduce people to, but also they had access to the other Google tools, such as the photo stream, there's YouTube on there, and so on. So we duplicated the profiles, so every tablet was pretty much the same. Having said that, if a community connector had a conversation with a referral and they requested something specific, then we would obviously tailor it to that person. We initially put on a selection of apps, which we'll go through on in the next couple of slides. But if a user was, for example, we had a request for someone who was into sport, so we put a few extra sport apps on there. We've had referrals who are interested in photography, so we put some extra photography apps on there for them. And then the device is enrolled with the Manage Engine platform. It's a third-party tool which allows you to add devices, not just tablets. I mean, it works for smartphones, laptops, and so on, where we were able to manage them remotely, and this was a massive plus for us. It allowed us to do quite a lot, if not everything, remotely, really, and also gave us full control over the security, which from a data protection view was extremely important. So that's just a screenshot of the Manage Engine console, where we're able to access each device individually. We can control it, so we can remote manage if users have any problems. We're aware of the location of the device, or the last known location, and then we could push out any apps. So, for example, if a tablet went out in January and in May, someone or a colleague or we discovered a new app which we felt would be worthwhile on all of the tablets, then it wasn't a case of us only putting that on the tablets that were going out from now on. We were able to push them out to all the tablets in one go, and the user wouldn't even know that's happening. They would just the apps would just appear on their tablets. So this was there's a financial fee involved in this, but as far as the cost is concerned, it's priceless. So with regards to apps, I'll be honest with you, we met as a group, and we kind of did a bit of a brainstorm where we decided what apps to put on there. So there's a selection there. We put a range of video players, so a Freeview app, the BBC iPlayer, ITV, Channel 4, so we put that on there. Because a lot of people wouldn't be familiar with the TV on demand, so we wanted to give them a taster of that. Duolingo was a app for learning another language. We also put the Geiriadur app, which is the Welsh dictionary app. BorrowBox was another popular app, which is an online library app, which if you haven't seen or used before, it's definitely worth looking at. Zoom is on there. And then as standard, the YouTube, the camera, Gmail, Google Chrome. Within a month or two of the project being in place, we started using WhatsApp. We found that WhatsApp gave us everything we needed as far as the communication with the individual tablets. So again, most of us are probably familiar with WhatsApp, but You know, you can send links, you can send images, you can send text, you can send audio, you can video call, you can audio call. And because these devices have SIM cards, there is an actual mobile number assigned to them. So we had full contact with tablets, and the majority of users have been using that to communicate with their families, as opposed to possibly using Zoom or email. So WhatsApp is a key app on the devices. With the funding from the healthcare avenue, as Gwyneth mentioned, we wanted to put on as much information on there in order to provide the support for that side of things. So the NHS app is on there, the track and trace app, NHS Attend Anywhere, which is an app for holding video appointments. So that's on there, and then the NHS My Health Online, which is the national website for GP surgeries and for making any appointments that way. So they're on there by default. So as far as the software, you know, we've had, you know, first and foremost, everyone is using it differently. Although, you know, there's a lot of similarities. So the Zoom and WhatsApp, you know, we're all familiar with Zoom now, but obviously a lot of services have moved on to Zoom. So the church services, for example, is something that was really popular. And with Zoom, it was a case of click on the link and the app does the rest for you, really. So it's fairly straightforward. It's not as straightforward as we'd have liked, which is why one of the reasons we moved across to WhatsApp, just to provide something ever so slightly easier for people who wanted to have that quick access to loved ones. We put a selection of games on there, mainly with that stimulation in mind, so word searches, crosswords. They've gone on there. I mentioned the Borrow Box, Duolingo, medical appointments, YouTube. We've had a referral where the individual was wanting to sit their driving test, so we put the driving test apps on there. With the schools, when the schools were in lockdown, a couple of tablets have gone out to families where the school entirely moved online. So the children were involved. So we've got things like Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom on there from what their school require. So it's, you know, we literally have covered nigh on 80-90 years of age as far as who the users are. A couple of people requested Facebook, so that went on there. We had a referral wanting to look into Instagram because they're into taking photos, and then the email side of things, where the connectors have provided some support, because obviously these people would never have used an email, so it's using their email account, whether they needed a contact group, and just as a group trying to push it on that little bit further, just to kind of give them a taster, I suppose, of what you can actually do with a digital device. So for those who are wanting to push themselves, we introduce them to tools such as email. As far as the individual settings on the device, we've evolved as the project has gone on. Right now, we increase the font size by default. We increase the display size by default, so the apps icons are bigger. We've changed the default keyboard so that the numbers are above, as opposed to where they have to maybe press and hold another letter in order for a number to appear, or tap a button to flick to the number keyboard. We've done that. We set the background of the keyboard to be black with highlighted keys. So these are all things we were learning and getting feedback from the users as we move on. We put the calendar on there. Little things like the devices automatically lock after 30 seconds, and then you need to find the button at the top. We set that to, I think, 30 minutes, so they didn't lock. We set it, there's an option within Android where you double tap to unlock, as opposed to power button, swipe up. So that's a little thing that has helped a lot of people. So like we said, we cover the whole of the county, okay, and their devices going out every week. We're currently on, I think it's around 125, and this is growing week on week. The Connect platform has been used to ask people with skills who want to support the system, and then we're working with third sector organisations to offer one-to-one support where possible.
Thanks, John. We promoted the 5 ways to wellbeing. We found these 5 themes were really important. So we introduced people to connect. Again, if people were living away from their families, they wanted to see them face to face. So being able to connect digitally was really important, as well as connecting with the vast range of community activities and services, such as creative writing, arts groups, online friendship groups, and just having the opportunity to connect, see people and have a conversation was so important. Give is another one that allowed people to give their time to support others. So we encouraged volunteering through the many third sector groups that were able to support and recruit volunteers to support with our digital way of working. Taking notice, we encourage people to take their digital tablets out into the street, into the garden, take photos of flowers, trees, anything red was a good theme. We wanted people to try and be active if it was at all possible. So online seat chair exercises, online yoga, even introducing people to take the tablet for a walk, measure the steps that they walked, keep learning, learn a new hobby, Duolingo to learn a Welsh language. Digital Communities Wales was one of our partners and offered a menu of online learning resources. So we encouraged and introduced people to what was available online.
Just to answer your question there, Mike, with regards to the data, but we deal with that on an individual case basis. If a tablet comes back with data on it, we monitor how much data is on it, and whether we can reuse that data in any way. We found that 25 gigabytes is an awful lot of data for an individual. So there's been the odd case where they have run out, and it's usually video, for users using a lot of video. So it's a case-by-case basis, really, where if we need to replace a SIM card, we have that discussion and do so if we feel that the data has been used in a suitable manner. And then, like I said, when they come back, we can there's a number that you can text off the tablet that will tell you how much data is left, and we decide what to do with the data. And I've answered the wrong question with regards to data there, Mike, so hopefully that did help someone. But with regards to the individual data, so every user gets a Google account, and then when that tablet is no longer in use, we give them, there's an option, basically, we can migrate the account over to them as a personal account, so that if there's any data on there that they want to keep, they can do. Otherwise, we discontinue the account, basically, so no two users would have access to the same data. And we've got an unlimited amount of Google accounts that we can access. So just hopefully that's answered that, Mike. There's another question there with regards to the costs. So if I mentioned we're using Lenovo M10s, and the price of them is, again, they do change all the time. For those of you who do the online shopping with devices like this, they can fluctuate £10 overnight. But because we need the 4G ones, they're probably about 20%, 30% more in value, and also harder to get. So we've actually gone to Lenovo direct in order to get a small discount on them. But the overall cost is obviously we're buying in bulk. So we've purchased devices in batches, and the prices have ranged from about £140 to £160 a device. Again, it depends on when you buy. When we were ordering some in January, Lenovo told us that there was a massive shortage of devices coming into Europe, and we had to wait a while for some additional devices in January, but the stock level seemed to have got back to where we need it now. So there isn't a shortage. And then, Maria, you're asking about the eligibility. Do you want to answer that, Gwyneth?
Yeah, due to the funding, it's anybody that's registered with a GP surgery. So anybody that's registered can access a tablet if it's to connect them to information, and that could be information and advice or activities in the community. It's a 2-month loan, but we wouldn't take it away from someone if they're actively using it, but perhaps couldn't afford to purchase one, because it is a bit of a try before you buy scheme. We've had instances where family members have asked to buy the tablet after the person has successfully used it. But if there are barriers to people not being able to purchase, and to take it away from someone would mean that they had lost that digital connection. We wouldn't want to do that. So we are very flexible on the 2-month loan. What we want to try and do is support people as much as possible to continue being involved and active digitally.
And then
there's a question there about how many people are then going on to buy their own devices. At the moment, we're seeing about 40% are wanting to buy the devices.
And then just to finish on the data there for you, Mike, in theory that there's a username and password for each Google account, but we locked it to the device. So that's more just for our peace of mind that we know the data is staying on the tablet. So you know, no one has actually tried that yet, but if they did, our Google admin console would notify us that that's happened, who's done it, and then if it ever happened, we'd contact them and treat that as a case-by-case basis if there was a particular reason why they'd want to connect it to a smartphone. That hasn't happened yet. Right, moving on.
So we have a strong network of partners. We hold monthly speed network meetings. We've got a network of over 230 organisations. So this is a great opportunity for our partners to share information, update us on projects and services, and in turn they can share our loan service and the Pembrokeshire Digital Connections project, and they can share it within their own individuals. So it's a good way of sharing information. Next slide. Okay, so the future of digital in Pembrokeshire. The last 14 months has shown us that we needed to set up and consider a digital strategy in Pembrokeshire. So we set up Pembrokeshire Digital Connections, a partnership of Hywel Dda Health Board, Pembrokeshire County Council, Third Sector and Digital Communities Wales. We formed a digital provider forum. We now have just over 20 organisations that support individuals in Pembrokeshire with digital activities, and it allows us then to offer equipment and support. But we also have a lot of third sector organisations that are recruiting volunteers and can support people online in community halls as they're starting to open up. We're very aware of data poverty in Pembrokeshire, and as a member of Digital Inclusion Alliance Wales, we understand the 5 priority areas, and one of those priority areas is awareness of data poverty. So working in partnership to look at digital inclusion And I've just put a link on the slide there to the Inclusion to Resilience document that was launched by Digital Inclusion Alliance Wales most recently. So a couple of case studies, again, through the project. One of the requirements of the loan service is that people share a story with us. Stories are so powerful, not only for our funders, our partners, but also helps to support others to get online. This lady, Tracy from Haverfordwest, that's not her real name. She was isolated last summer, but was lucky to receive a tablet in the autumn. She now uses WhatsApp to stay in touch with family and have daily video calls with friends and family. She looks forward to speaking to her grandchildren every weekend. And this would never have been possible without the loan of the tablet. And then Richard from Pembrokeshire in the north. I love using the tablet and I'm now on it every day. I have found a football management game that I enjoy. I have signed up to Facebook and connected with family and friends from where I used to live. And last week he spoke to his sister in Tennessee via a video call and he hadn't seen her for 40 years. And he's in touch with all his siblings. So those are just examples, but they're so powerful and they just show how digital has transformed some people's lives. So what has the pandemic shown us in Pembrokeshire? I think the advantages of getting online can support people with information and advice, financial, health and social benefits. The role of volunteers in communities, we've seen in Pembrokeshire over 97 community groups set up since the start of COVID. And so there's great interest from people to support local initiatives, and we need to build on local volunteering to support us in the future. The Pembrokeshire Community Hub can build on our virtual hub of connectors and to support people, particularly in sharing what is available for people online. We need to look at particular areas of need in the communities, so looking at a preventions agenda, so looking at the future of day opportunities, for instance, and in particular, perhaps we've just had Carers Week, and carers having access to online activities has transformed some of their lives, not only carers, but they're cared for as well. The challenge in coming months will be to ensure that we have a funding stream to develop this digital infrastructure and capacity to sustain this work for the future. So in terms of the connector team, what have we learned? It's not easy getting people online and giving them instructions over the telephone. For people who've never switched on a digital tablet has been difficult. It's needed patience and confidence. But we found as a team, try it, do it. It's a team effort. We've made mistakes along the way, but we worked through them. And it can enhance your own well-being, being able to support people and just seeing the examples of those case studies. It just powers you on, really. And as one of my connectors said, you told us it would be fun, and actually it has been. We've been through some questions in the chat, so here's an opportunity now to ask any more questions.
If anyone wants to connect with us on social media or via email, if you do have any further questions moving forward, then please do not hesitate to kind of drop us a line, and we'll give you whatever information we've got to hand. Maria's asking Gwyneth regarding the funding, just to clarify where the funding comes from.
Yeah. The funding came from GP clusters. So we've got 2 in Pembrokeshire, North clusters and South clusters, and we were successful to get funding from both. So it enables us then to offer the loan service to anybody registered with a GP surgery in Pembrokeshire. we thought we'd just leave you with this question. A time for reflection, really, for all of you. When the announcement came from government last March, digital impacted my life. How has digital impacted on your life, your working life, your personal life? Just a time for reflection, really, and see if there's anything that you want to note and write down. Share it with us on social media if you would like, at PAVS on Twitter. We'd love to have that conversation and share your thoughts. Thank you very much. Diolch.
Thank you, everyone. We'll stay online for a little bit if anyone wants to pop their mic on and ask any questions, or to use the chat. Otherwise, from Gwyneth and myself, thank you ever so much for joining us today. Thank you, Mike.